Chapter 14, Gunatraya Vibhaga Yoga, the yoga of the division of the three gunas. After revealing the mystery of the field and the knower, in Chapter 13, Krishna now goes deeper into the forces that shape human life itself. Every thought, every action, every mood is influenced by the three gunas: Sattva, purity and harmony; Rajas, passion and restlessness; and Tamas, ignorance and inertia. These gunas bind the soul to the cycle of birth and death, pulling us like invisible ropes. Yet, by understanding them, we can rise above their influence and live in freedom. Psychology sees this as the study of personality traits and human behavior. Neuroscience explains it as the play of neurotransmitters and brain chemistry shaping our moods and decisions. Logic proves, if the strings control the puppet, true mastery comes only by seeing the strings and cutting them. This chapter is the science of inner forces, showing how to recognize the gunas, transcend them, and rest in the eternal self beyond their sway. In verse 1, Krishna begins this new teaching with promise. He who understands this supreme wisdom and lives by it is freed from the bondage of the gunas and attains perfection. Here Krishna is offering not just knowledge, but liberation itself. Psychology calls this meta-awareness, the ability to observe our own tendencies without being trapped by them. Neuroscience explains that higher awareness activates the prefrontal cortex, allowing us to step back from impulses and patterns. Logic says, the bird that sees the net from above can escape it, while the one entangled within struggles in vain. In verse 2, he continues, those who understand this knowledge become united with me, and at the time of creation they are not born, nor are they disturbed at the time of dissolution. This means that transcending the gunas makes the soul untouched by the cycles of birth and death. Psychology sees this as freedom from compulsive conditioning. Neuroscience reflects it as stability of mind beyond fluctuation. Logic illustrates, the ocean floor remains still, no matter how the waves rise and fall above. In verse 3, Krishna explains the process. My womb is the great material nature, in which I place the seed of all beings. From this, O Arjuna, arises all creation. This is the union of Prakriti, material nature, and Purusha, consciousness. Psychology interprets this as the dance of environment and awareness. Neuroscience shows how body and consciousness interweave to create experience. Logic clarifies, the soil holds the seed, but without the spark of life, nothing grows. In verse 4, Krishna declares, it should be understood that all species of life are made possible by the union of material nature and the conscious spirit. I am the seed-giving father of all. This is a profound reminder. Every living being, human, animal, plant, is born from the womb of nature, yet infused with the spark of divine spirit. Psychology interprets this as the universal principle of life. All beings share the same essential consciousness, only expressed through different forms. Neuroscience reminds us that while brains differ in complexity, the spark of awareness exists in every sentient creature. Logic illustrates, countless lamps may differ in shape and size, but the flame within each is the same fire. In verse 5, Krishna begins to define the three gunas, Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. These are the three qualities of material nature. They bind the eternal soul to the body. O mighty armed Arjuna, Sattva, purity, harmony, clarity; Rajas, passion, activity; restlessness, Tamas, inertia, ignorance, darkness. These three weave together to shape our moods, thoughts, and actions. Psychology recognizes this as the shifting states of human personality and behavior. Neuroscience sees it as the balance of neurotransmitters and brain states influencing mood, motivation, and awareness. Logic makes it plain. The strings of a puppet control its dance. So to the gunas, move the soul caught in nature. In verse 6, Krishna explains Sattva first. Sattva is pure and luminous. It binds the soul by attachment to knowledge and happiness. Even Sattva, though elevated, still binds, for clinging to joy and clarity keeps the soul from complete freedom. Psychology interprets this as subtle ego, the pride of being good or wise. Neuroscience notes how the brain can become attached to reward loops even in positivity. Logic clarifies, golden chains are still chains. In verse 7, Krishna explains the second guna, Rajas, is born of desire and attachment. It binds the soul by attachment to action. Rajas is the fire of restlessness, ambition, and craving. It keeps the mind busy, always chasing outcomes. Psychology calls this the treadmill of desire, where satisfaction is temporary, but the urge keeps repeating. Neuroscience shows how dopamine drives us into cycles of craving and reward, never letting the mind rest. Logic demonstrates the wheel of a cart spins endlessly when pulled forward by hunger. In verse 8, Krishna reveals the third guna, Tamas, born of ignorance, deludes all beings. It binds the soul by negligence, sleep, and laziness. Tamas clouds perception and keeps the soul in darkness. It resists growth, encouraging apathy, confusion, and inertia. Psychology recognizes Tamas as depression, escapism, and lack of willpower. Neuroscience observes how low arousal states in the brain create lethargy and lack of clarity. Logic illustrates. A lamp covered by thick smoke gives no light, no matter how strong the flame. In verse 9, Krishna summarizes their pull. Sattva binds one to happiness, Rajas to action, and Tamas, covering knowledge, binds to negligence. Each guna has its effect. Even Sattva ties the soul to contentment. Rajas keeps it bound to endless striving, and Tamas traps it in inertia. Together, they weave the net of bondage in which the eternal self is caught. Verse 10, when Sattva rises, it overcomes Rajas and Tamas. When Rajas rises, it overcomes Sattva and Tamas. When Tamas rises, it overcomes Sattva and Rajas. This verse reveals the eternal struggle inside every human being. The three gunas pulling us in different directions. Sometimes clarity and peace, Sattva, shine. Sometimes restless desire, Rajas, takes charge, and sometimes dullness and confusion, Tamas, drag us down. Psychology explains this as shifting mental states. Moments of wisdom, moments of craving, moments of laziness. Neuroscience shows that the brain is never static. Networks for focus, craving, or fatigue take turns dominating. Logic affirms, just as seasons change, so too the qualities of the mind alternate in power. Verse 11, when Sattva prevails, light of knowledge shines through every sense. This is the sign of Sattva, clarity, balance, and wisdom radiating from within. The person feels light, at peace, and connected with truth. Psychology calls this flow state harmony between body, mind, and purpose. Neuroscience finds higher coherence in brainwaves during calm awareness. Logic shows, when the lamp is clean, its light shines without obstruction. Verse 12, when Rajas prevails, greed, restlessness, and activity burn like fire. Here desire pushes the person into action, never satisfied, always craving more. Restlessness becomes the ruling energy. Psychology recognizes this as the dopamine cycle, chasing reward without lasting fulfillment. Neuroscience shows hyperactive brain circuits in states of craving and agitation. Logic proves, fire grows brighter only by consuming fuel, so too Rajas grows by endless desire. Verse 13, when Tamas prevails, darkness, inertia, and delusion dominate. This is the state of ignorance and decline. Energy is wasted, duties are neglected, and the soul is covered by confusion. Psychology relates this to depressive and lethargic states, where motivation collapses. Neuroscience observes slowed brain activity, fog, and impaired decision-making. Logic illustrates, a covered mirror cannot reflect, no matter how bright the light around it. Thus Krishna teaches, the gunas are always at war within us. By awareness, we rise with sattva. By attachment, we sink into rajas and tamas. The choice of nourishment determines the quality of our life. Verse 14, if one rises beyond these three gunas, freed from birth, death, old age, and sorrow, that soul attains immortality. Here Krishna shows the true goal, not merely living under sattva, rajas, or tamas, but transcending all three. Even sattva, though pure, still binds with attachment to knowledge and happiness. Freedom comes only when the soul stands above all. Psychology calls this self-transcendence, the stage where identity is no longer tied to ego or conditions. Neuroscience finds that advanced meditators show brain states beyond ordinary patterns, silence beyond excitation or dullness. Logic affirms, the bird is not free until it leaves the cage, no matter how golden the cage may be. Verse 15, those established in sattva rise upwards, those in rajas remain in the middle, those in tamas sink downwards, into lower states of life. This is the law of inner gravity. Sattva lifts, rajas keeps one stuck, tamas drags one down. Psychology interprets this as the long-term outcome of habits. Clarity leads to growth. Restlessness keeps one circling, and ignorance brings decline. Neuroscience shows that positive states of balance strengthen neural pathways of resilience, while agitation and dullness weaken them. Logic explains, a boat pointed upstream advances, one left drifting circles, and one weighed down sinks. Verse 16, those rooted in sattva are reborn among the wise. Those dominated by rajas take birth among those attached to action. Those sunk in tamas are reborn among the deluded. Even rebirth reflects the guna one cultivates. Our inner quality becomes the magnet that draws the next experience. Psychology calls this conditioning. Repeated tendencies shape personality and destiny. Neuroscience shows that deep habits of thought and feeling leave lasting imprints, almost like carrying forward momentum. Logic proves, seeds of mango, chili, or thorn cannot produce the same tree. Each bears fruit according to its nature. Verse 17, the fruits of sattva are pure, bringing wisdom. The fruits of rajas are suffering, born of desire. The fruits of tamas are ignorance and delusion. Krishna here reveals the taste of each guna. Sattva gives knowledge and peace. Rajas gives endless striving and dissatisfaction. Tamas gives darkness and decline. Psychology explains this as the outcome of motivation. Intrinsic purpose, sattva, uplifts. Restless craving, rajas exhausts. And apathy, tamas weakens. Neuroscience finds that peace-based practices improve well-being. Desire-driven behavior stresses the brain, and lethargy suppresses growth. Logic illustrates, pure water refreshes, salty water increases thirst. Stagnant water poisons. Verse 18, those established in Sattva rise upward. Those in Rajas remain bound in the middle. Those in Tamas, indulging in the lowest, sink further down. Krishna repeats this truth with force. The guna we live by determines whether we rise, stagnate, or fall. It is not fate, but choice of quality, that shapes destiny. Psychology points to mindset and daily actions as the drivers of personal growth or decline. Neuroscience observes brain plasticity. Whatever we repeatedly feed grows stronger, uplifting or degrading us. Logic shows. The flame rises, smoke lingers, ashes fall. Thus Krishna warns. The gunas are the forces of bondage. Only by transcending them does the soul reach true freedom, beyond cycles of birth and death. Verse 19, Arjuna asks with sincerity, O Lord, by what marks is the one known who has transcended the three gunas? How does he behave, and how does he go beyond them? This is the practical question of every seeker, not theory, but signs. How do we recognize one who has risen beyond Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas? Psychology calls this the study of traits and behaviors, the outer reflection of inner growth. Neuroscience observes that mastery of consciousness leaves distinct patterns in brain and behavior: calmness, clarity, and compassion. Logic clarifies, a tree is known by its fruits, not by its claims. Verse 20, Krishna answers, he who neither hates nor desires the presence of light Sattva, activity, Rajas, or delusion, Tamas, O Arjuna, and remains unmoved by them, such a one is said to have transcended the gunas. This is the first mark, equanimity. The liberated one does not cling to Sattva, nor recoil from Tamas, nor get swept by Rajas. He sees them all as passing currents, like clouds before the eternal sky. Psychology identifies this as emotional stability, not reacting with attachment or aversion. Neuroscience shows that deep meditation weakens the brain's overreactive circuits, leaving awareness steady despite inner or outer changes. Logic affirms, the ocean is not disturbed by rivers flowing in, nor by waves rising and falling. It remains vast and still. Thus Krishna begins to reveal the portrait of the one beyond the gunas, serene, unmoved, free from attraction and repulsion, resting in the self. Verse 21, Krishna describes, he who is the same in honor and dishonor, the same in friend and foe, and who abandons all undertakings. Such a one is said to have risen above the gunas. Here Krishna paints the picture of balance in relationships and circumstances. The liberated one does not swell with pride when praised, nor collapse in sorrow when insulted. Neither favoritism nor hostility sway his heart. Psychology calls this impartial awareness, freedom from the emotional biases that distort perception. Neuroscience shows that long-term meditation reduces activity in brain regions tied to social comparison and ego defense. Logic explains, the sun shines equally on the palace and the hut, the saint and the sinner, without preference. Verse 22. Krishna adds, he who is content with whatever comes, who has transcended dualities, and who is steady, to whom clod, stone, and gold are alike, such a yogi is said to stand firm. This is freedom from material obsession. Whether holding mud or jewels, his peace remains unshaken. Contentment becomes his wealth. Psychology names this non-material happiness, joy independent of possessions. Neuroscience confirms that intrinsic well-being activates deeper brain networks than external rewards. Logic affirms, the one who values water above gold in the desert truly knows worth. Verse 23 to 24, Krishna continues, the yogi who looks upon pain and pleasure alike, who regards a lump of earth, a stone and gold with equal vision, who treats alike the desirable and the undesirable, who remains unmoved and balanced in criticism and praise, that yogi is said to have transcended the modes. This is equanimity in extremes. Praise or blame, heat or cold, loss or gain, he stands unshaken, rooted in the self. Psychology calls this resilience, the ability to remain steady despite external highs and lows. Neuroscience shows that balance in the autonomic nervous system arises through mindfulness, reducing reactivity. Logic clarifies, the scale that tips to neither side always shows the true measure. Verse 25 finally, Krishna concludes this section, he who regards friend and foe alike, who is free from attachment, dwelling in the self. Such a yogi is said to have gone beyond the guna. Here the yogi is described as established in oneness. He does not divide the world into allies and enemies. Seeing all as expressions of the one divine, he abides in peace. Psychology relates this to universal compassion. Transcending tribal bias, neuroscience observes that meditation on unity activates networks of empathy and reduces fear circuits. Logic makes it plain. When the wave knows itself as the ocean, it cannot hate another wave. Thus, Krishna reveals the qualities of the soul free from the gunas. Steady, impartial, content, equal in all circumstances. rooted in the eternal self. Verse 26, Krishna declares, "Whoever serves me with unwavering devotion, transcending these gunas, becomes fit to attain the supreme state of Brahman." Here the truth becomes clear. Even if one struggles with Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas, the direct path to freedom is devotion bhakti. Loving surrender to Krishna lifts the soul beyond the bondage of the modes. Psychology frames this as love being a higher motivator than discipline alone. Neuroscience shows devotion and prayer activate deep reward centers, fostering resilience and joy. Logic explains, when a river surrenders to the ocean, it no longer fears obstacles. It flows freely. Verse 27, Krishna concludes with profound assurance, "For I am the foundation of the imperishable Brahman, the abode of the eternal, the nectar of immortality, and the everlasting Dharma." This is a revelation of identity. Krishna is not merely a teacher or a manifestation of God. He is the eternal ground of being itself, the essence of Brahman. Psychology interprets this as reaching the ultimate source of meaning and security. Neuroscience suggests that the experience of unity dissolves fear of death and separation. Logic affirms, just as all rays depend on the sun, so all existence rests in Krishna, the eternal foundation. With this, chapter 14 closes. Krishna has shown the play of the three gunas, their binding nature, and the qualities of the one who transcends them. Finally, he reveals that devotion to him alone grants liberation beyond the modes.